everyone, my name is Cindy Kang and I'm currently the head instructor for IB English at IB The Top. Today, I want to introduce you guys to this online series of lecture videos that I have prepared for you to ensure that you can succeed in IB English and get a 7. So before that, a little bit about me. I did also receive a IB diploma when I was in high school, and of course, I took English A, HL, and after that, for my higher education, I did get my degree at UIUC as well as U Chicago. But most importantly, I would say that my teaching experience is really important. And so in total, I've been teaching more than 1,000 hours per year. And at IB The Top, I've been meeting so many different students at so many different levels, also from so many different parts of the world. At this point, I am pretty confident to say that I understand what students need and what they're good at and how I can actually help them fulfill that desire of wanting a higher grade, right? And so today in this video, first, I wanted to introduce you guys to who this would be really beneficial for, right? And so there must be a lot of different things that you're thinking about clicking into this video and asking yourself, am I the right person to watch this video? And to give you some background, I would say that your passion is important. Your desperation is really important. So if you're just planning on sitting there watching all my videos and hoping that you would get a better grade, you need to wake up, because this video will not help you do that if you just sit and watch, right? But it's important that you are wanting to do better from an earlier stage. And even if you already are pursuing IB English right now, if you need that extra support, these videos will help you do that. And so by watching these videos, it will help you manage your GPA, and it'll also help you do well on your finals, your mocks, as well as the final IB exam. So ultimately, what we're being graded on is our essay, right? No one else is writing the essay for you. They're not grading you on how many hours you spent studying. Ultimately, it all comes down to this one essay that you're handing to the IB examiners. And so in order for you to write a good, polished essay, all of these series of videos will help you achieve that at the end. Okay? And so people might be at different stages right now. Some of you may be at 4s, some of you may be at 6s, and you just want to boost that grade up, right? Whether you want a 4 to a 7 or you want a 6 to a 7, regardless of what that may be, right? And regardless of what you're thinking about for English, you can make that possible by watching my videos. And so I know a lot of students, you may be thinking, I'm not a native English speaker, or I am a native English speaker, so would this video be beneficial? Language fluency has nothing to do with these online series videos. It's all about what IB exams for English are expecting from your knowledge, okay? And so regardless of whether you are, fluent English speakers or even non-native, like you're more comfortable in Korean, the videos are all spoken in English, but I'm sure you guys are all comfortable listening to English, and so it'll definitely be helpful for everyone across different levels of English comfort. And so the course features. I have one big goal in all of my videos, which is I want to make English something that you guys are all engaged in. I want this to be fun instead of something that you feel like you're gonna fall asleep. Like, I don't want this videos to be a lullaby to you. And especially because I know that a lot of people who need help with English are the ones who feel like, I'm stuck, I don't really know how I'm supposed to study, or English is just not fun, I hate reading. And so that emotions that you have towards English, I want to change that so that you can feel like it's at least something that you're like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, okay? And so with that emotion, we need to turn it into something, right? You can't just feel like I'm having fun and the grades just, being down there. So I want that passion to turn into some kind of grade, like some kind of, progress that we're seeing. So these videos will not only help you ensure that you're feeling that kind of excitement with English, but also improving your scores. So it's ultimately designed to cover everything. I know as SL students, right, at the end of the day, we are being graded on 3 main exams, which is the paper 1, paper 2, as well as the individual oral, or what we call the IO. For HL students, we do have the HLSA, but we are also being graded on these 3 things, right? So regardless of whether you're an SL or HL, these 3 series of videos will be extremely helpful for you. They are broken down, and in total, it sums up to 30 hours. So you might be like, 30 hours, that's quite long, or some of you might think it's quite short. But think about it. If you watch an hour per day, you can get over this entire series of videos in 1 month. So it's really not a lot. And at the same time, we are telling you a lot of good materials that you would need to know in order to do well on each individual exams. So I want to break it down a little bit. For those of you who are like, okay, so tell me, what can I actually get out of these videos? What should I be expecting? So for paper 1, it's pretty long. It is actually the longest series in the video that we have. But it kind of makes sense as to why, since the paper 1, we are dealing with unseen text. And paper 1 essentially becomes the foundation for paper 2 as well as our individual oral, because we need to understand author's intentions and we need to understand how to analyze a text, how to annotate a text, how to actually craft a good essay. And so beginning with the basic curricula of IB English and moving down onto what are some of the authorial choices, how do I actually annotate a text the moment I see one, and how do I craft a good essay. So we go over a lot of different samples, and I think that is one of the big merits of watching this video, which is that instead of just telling you like, hey guys, you know, in order to write a good essay, you need a topic sentence, you need a body, you need a good conclusion, you need implications, like those are all theoretical, which are of course important, right? That should be the first step. But the next is, okay, then what is an example of that, right? So in the videos, I show you guys different examples, and we basically cover 4 different types of text types, and 2 of them are articles, but it's kind of different because we have news articles and magazine articles, and there are definitely differences, despite the fact that they are both articles. They are one of the most commonly appearing paper 1 text, so that's why we're covering the most frequent ones. A speech is a more rare type of text, but it's important that we're also preparing ourselves for some things that we don't often see, but could potentially appear in the paper 1 exam. And last but not least, we have an infographic, and that is our visual text. We do know that paper 1 is composed of a text-heavy text and a visual text, and so it's important that we know how to analyze a visual text and a text, right? And for those videos, it's also broken down into 4 different sections. So for each text type, we first go over the general purposes and effects, right? So when we first look at an article, right, we have to understand what would be the intention of delivering this through a news article. What would be the effect of delivering this through a news article, right? So those are very generic things and also conventional techniques. Before you read the article, you need to tell yourself, these are some of the techniques that I am already thinking of seeing. I'm expecting to see these techniques, and you need to memorize these. And in the video, I give you like a really brief, like list of things that you would be able to memorize easily and also apply when you see a news article or any other text types. We also go over different text examples, and these texts are actually from past exams. And with those examples, we break it down into the analysis portion. So I actually annotate the text with you guys, and I also show you guys a difference between a 5-level one and a 7-level one side by side. So we first read an introduction paragraph for a 5-level, and using a very similar idea, we now convert that to an essay writing that would deserve a 7. So you would be able to see the difference between what makes a 5 and what makes a 7 different from a 5 that gets a better score, okay? Some of you may feel like, wait, but this is not a comprehensive list of all the unseen text types. Why are you only covering 4? But at a certain point, right, if you know how to analyze a certain type of text, you should be able to apply those into other different text types. And so don't feel like this is going to be totally useless because you have never seen a speech before, or you have never seen a magazine article at school, and you feel like it's never going to come out, right? It is definitely, there is a possibility that it's going to come out. And even if you're used to analyzing a magazine article, those same skill sets could come in handy when we analyze another text type. That could be a diary, that could be a blog, you know, etc. Right? So that is what the paper 1 series of video looks like. For paper 2, it's a lot shorter, but in terms of the ideas that are in there, pretty much the same. We begin by talking about what is a paper 2, right? For those of you who are just starting IB, what is a paper 2? What's expected from you? There are definitely authorial choices that would work better with literary text because paper 2 is all about literary analysis, right? So we go over some of the terminologies, all the way down to number 5 where we learn how to structure the essay. And I think that's the most important part of paper 2, where we talk about what are the different ways to structure your essay. Depending on what structure you're picking, how do I actually craft a whole body paragraph and thus a full essay? We're also going to talk about how to make a study guide, and I feel like this is something that no one really teaches you. A lot of students might think there's no way to really prepare for the paper 2, prepare for the paper 1, because we don't know what prompts are going to come out, we don't know what texts are going to come out. But trust me, there are ways to study for this. There is a study guide that you can make for yourself in order to make that useful for you to prepare for not only your final exam, but also summatives, finals, mocks that are leading up to that final IB exam, okay? And so for paper 2, we have 2 big exemplars that are covered in the video. And for each of them, we break it down into 4 different sections. So for those of you who are like, would the examples actually help me because I have never read that book before, but the essay is about that book? For that reason, I go over the context. So in that, I talk about like a very brief summary of what the book is about, what the theme is, what are some important things that you need to understand before we read the essay. And then we go through what is called a compare and contrast chart outline. And so in that outline, I talk about, okay, if I were to be a student who's taking this exam, how would I actually write my outline? And how would I actually craft an essay out of that, right? So after we look at everything, we now talk about the marking criteria. What grade did this student deserve and why, okay? So that's the paper 2. Last but not least, we have the individual oral. The individual oral is extremely important because unlike the other 2 exams, the individual oral you get to take at home, right? So because you get to take it at home, you get to prepare a script, you have time to memorize your script, you want to make sure that you're receiving a 7 here, okay? It's going to be your buffer. This allows you to, you know, score still a 6 on your paper 1 and 2. You can still potentially get a 7 on your English, right? And so for the individual oral, again, we start with what is the IO, right? And then we go down until how to actually prepare for the IO questions. You know that it has a 10-minute of presentation and 5-minute of question time. And so in this video, I will be, covering how to actually do that entire 15 minutes of the IO. I know at school, they are not going to provide you with a global issue. Global issues cannot be a cliche. Global issues should be unique to the text that you have chosen. So we also go over how do I actually phrase my global issue? How do I pick my extract, my body of work? How do I actually analyze it? And then we look at scripts because we will all do better with scripts. I know some people are like, scripts, do I really need? I can improvise. Not really. I have never really seen a student do really well on the IO. By improvising it. There's no way that you would do better compared to a student who memorizes a script for a full month, right? So these exemplars are, of course, taken by students from me who we worked on writing the script together. We finalized it for weeks and almost months, and they are the ones who actually did receive a 7 on their individual oral, so you can feel assured that if you watch these videos, if you take these exemplars and utilize it into your own unique individual oral, it'll become really helpful. And so breaking it down a little bit as well, we first talk about the global issue and the chosen text. So I explain what is a global issue, what are the texts that they chose, and also what are the extracts. Because for you guys, if we just see a small chunk of writing, you might be like, so where is that coming from? I don't really understand the context. So I go through that a little bit to give you guys context, and then we look at the script. And after that, we look at the marking criteria so that you get a full idea of, okay, if I present in this way, I should be expecting this kind of grade, right? And so this is probably what you are most interested in. How do I actually study effectively for IB English? What am I supposed to do? And I would say, number one, it's important that you are very punctual and timely. If you're lazy, if you procrastinate, no one does well, right? You can never expect yourself to do well if you're not really timely. Okay, so first of all, you need to create your own study schedule. You should tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna dedicate this many hours this week watching these videos. I'm gonna dedicate, like 1 hour writing a paper 1. There should be something that you're telling yourself, I'm gonna be dedicating this amount of time. You also need to follow the course step by step. I didn't randomly compose these videos into random, like orders. They were all thought out, and from experience of teaching so many students, I realized that this is the best way to actually understand each individual exams that you're expected to perform. So make sure, especially if it's your first time understanding what the paper 1 is or the paper 2 or the individual oral, watch it from the beginning. And only if you're reviewing, of course, you can pick the videos that you really need help on, right? And I would say the third bullet point is the most important thing in this slide, which is do not just watch the video. And what I mean by this is we need to be active note takers, right? We know for English especially, we need to annotate a lot. Same thing with these videos. If you just sit there thinking that it's some kind of movie and you're just like, great, right? It'll never stick. You can't just expect yourself to understand, absorb everything in your brain by just looking at it, okay? And so I would highly recommend that you have a notebook, you have your iPad, or you have your laptop next to you, kind of jotting down some things that you think is like, I never really thought that this was important for a paper 1, or I never realized that this kind of terminology existed. You want to write those things down so that you can visually see it, right? And also, like I said, I try to make all the videos very fun and engaging. I also want you guys to try enjoy reading and like writing. If you don't engage yourself in it, every time you sit in front of a text, you're gonna feel like, do I have to do this? Like, I don't wanna do it. If that's your mentality, it's never gonna go in the right direction. So just try to tell yourself like, this is fun, I'm engaging, like I'm enjoying this. And then eventually, that mindset will stick. So when you're just sitting there, you'll tell yourself like, okay, I know what to do. Okay, let's just get to work. And so last but not least, reviewing is also an important step of studying effectively. You do want to review multiple times because even for students that I've been teaching for like a year, 2 years, since MYP, since IGCSE, we end up talking about the fundamentals multiple times. And you might think like, that's so repetitive. Do I need to do that? Surprisingly, right, those things after time, if you don't review yourself with those, it kind of just flies away, okay? So especially for those of you who are just watching this online, you need to make sure that you are reviewing this, okay? All right, so the last message that I want to tell you guys is no one is perfect in the beginning. I myself, I did not start IB English A as like an expert, right? Of course, there are people who are just talented with language, but good for them, right? If we are people who are not talented naturally, we need to work hard for it. And so, like I said, you can't be lazy with this. Do not procrastinate. But I'm also not trying to say that it's impossible. I've had so many students who started out with a really low grade, especially when they first took their paper 1 summative or their paper 2 summative. It was at like that 4, 3, 5 level. But eventually, by taking classes with me, and for you guys who will be watching my videos, you'll eventually see that score progressively going up, okay? And so I don't want you to feel discouraged because this does not exist anywhere else. This is ready for you guys, right? And so I want you guys to make a full, experience with these videos. And I promise I did spend a lot of time and effort and thought and experience into these videos. And so trust me, Okay, when I say that it will be really helpful for you, and by watching these videos and practicing them yourselves, I can guarantee that you guys can get a 7 out of this, okay? So make sure you watch these videos, and I hope you have fun with English, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching.